What's up, everybody, and welcome back to episode 3 of the Film Room Podcast. I'm your host, Joe Baress, along with my co-host, Joby Fawcett. Joby, how we doing on this Labor Day?
Joe, there's no better way to celebrate Labor Day than by working since very early in the morning in preparation for week 3 of the high school football season.
You know it.
So that is how I spent my Labor Day today, Joe.
That's great. And you'll still be going after this, right?
Yes, there's plenty to do after this exciting hour of broadcasting.
Absolutely. Joby, did you get to the gym, though?
I did. I always do.
Good.
And I was able to take an hour and mow through my 2 feet of yard because of the torrential rains we had over the last couple of days. And
Sure.
the mower only got stuck twice and I got covered in mud by spinning the tires, but we were able to complete the assignment.
Yep.
That was my lunch break, Joe.
That's excellent. So you're having a great day.
I always have a great day, Joe, and it's only getting better.
That's right. So, yeah, we're going to talk some high school football. We're going to talk about some other stuff, but there was a big game on Friday, overtime thriller between Old Forge and Dunmore. Old Forge pulling off a 46-43 victory. And we are going to talk about that now. We're actually joined by the Times-Tribune Athlete of the Week, DiMattia. TJ, how we doing, man?
Good. How are you?
Wonderful. Hey, thanks for taking the time to join us. So we're going to read off TJ's stats here. Went 14 for 18, he had 11 straight completions at one point, 218 yards passing, 2 touchdowns, added 33 yards on the ground and a touchdown on 9 carries. Just a big day for TJ. First thing I'm going to ask you is, funny enough, I went to Bishop Ann and Holy Cross, so our rival was actually you guys, but those were always the best games to play. You guys are rivals with Dunmore. What was that experience like playing at Dunmore in this game?
It was definitely a unique experience. It was unfortunate because it was their second year. It was the second year in a row that we were their home opener and the second year in a row that they were dealing with the passing of this year a teammate and then the year before Coach Hens's. And, those are 2 extremely emotional games to deal with back to back to play against them. And, you were able to tell on the field with how their guys were playing back to back years, so credit to them. They always battle, when you're playing Dunmore, it's always going to be a battle. So it was really unique and I loved it.
TJ, Joby Fawcett here. And then listen, anytime you're involved in a game like that, that's so exciting and it's back and forth and, they would take a lead, you would tie the game, you would take a lead, they'd come back, tie the game. It was just such a wave of momentum throughout the entire game. How do you as a player and the quarterback maintain somewhat of a level of poise that you have to first keep this team coming back in the face of adversity, and 2, keeping yourself grounded to make the comeback at the end to tie it and then win it in overtime?
Yeah, I think it's just overall having trust in my guys and having trust in the coaches. That's really what it all is, It's my second year as the starter, so I've gone through a lot. Last year we experienced, a lot of inexperience everywhere on the ball. So, this year we got a lot of guys back and it's kind of just, we're building off of what we started last year. And the coaches are, we're playing to our strengths and it's really working out for us. And, playing defense helps with that too, because it kind of takes it helps me take my mind off of the whole thing, and I'm not sitting around waiting around all the time. I do get some breaks here and there, but it's not like I'm sitting around the entire time just thinking about, oh man, I just threw a pick, I got to go out there and I got to throw a touchdown now. And it's just a bunch of added pressure, so I get to go out and, I say, got to make a stop on this play, so playing both sides of the ball really helps out with that.
Yeah. To piggyback off that, TJ, obviously you had a great game, but there were a lot of other great performances in that game. These first 2 weeks have kind of been wild for you guys. Two big victories, 2 close games, 2 high pressure games. Who's a guy that has impressed you the most in these first 2 weeks of your teammates?
I mean, it's hard to not say Kale, but I mean, what he's doing now is stuff he's been doing his whole life. So, I mean, it's kind of just, it's just another day, another week for him because, his speed is something that nobody really has had an answer for yet. And then to couple that with Chris Rasmus, who's just a physical, big body receiver, who's hard to guard, crafty with his route running. And, them too, when we spread them out and get them on opposite sides of the field, it creates problems for defenses. And, Coach Schuback and me really talk about that all the time. How are we going to get these guys in space? What are we going to do differently? So it's really just, a progressive change and a progressive battle to try and find new ways to get our playmakers the ball. And we have multiple.
TJ, so for our listeners who may not know, you are an outstanding baseball player, okay? And I believe you're going to go to the University of Scranton. You made that announcement via social media over the summer. So there are times throughout the course of the summer, and I can remember back to last year, you were a little late getting to camp and becoming the quarterback. How much have you learned and matured and developed your game at the quarterback position, even though you have you have to balance out your summers and your off seasons because you're such a focused baseball player?
Yeah, I just I'd say probably 4 weeks ago at practice, like a month ago, I probably just then figured out, what our protections were, on our passing plays, so it's not easy, balancing that, but it is challenge that I love and it's something that I really enjoy doing, so baseball, obviously, the University of Scranton, great school, great program, great coaching staff, really looking forward to that. But I love playing quarterback. It's so much fun and I really enjoy the coaching staff makes it easy for me.
Absolutely. Sticking with baseball, does baseball help you at all with football and vice versa?
I'd say definitely. Football, it's more like, when I'm playing quarterback and when I'm playing safety, it kind of like, football's different. You can be a little bit more on edge. You could be a little bit more competitive. Obviously, you're still going to be very competitive in baseball, but when you're playing football, it's kind of like, it's football. It's a physical sport. Baseball, you kind of have to be a little bit more calm, a little bit more mentally grounded. You can't just go out and lose your mind all the time, whereas some people in football can do that. But I think playing shortstop my entire life and pitching my entire life has really helped me with like certain throws, like rolling out of the pocket. It just having different ways to throw the football really helps me make throws that aren't exactly easy to make. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
TJ DiMattia with us here in the film room. He is our Times-Tribune Athlete of the Week. TJ, last year, you mentioned earlier, you had a lot of players on this Old Forge football team that kind of were getting their first starts. You graduated a big senior class the year before, and there were some growing pains last year. This year, as you come back and you're clearly more experienced, what have you seen from this group, and what lessons did you learn from last year in going to the District 2 championship game, facing a very talented Lackawanna Trail team, and that you brought with you in terms of leadership, ability, calming influences that you need to have to develop? What have you seen from this group?
I think overall it's just kind of the mental toughness of the entire thing. You know, it's a grueling season. Playing 10 games of football is not easy, but you know, mentally prepared and everybody wanting and working for the same end goal. Is just kind of what drives us every single day at practice and what drives us to go to work every single day. And, you know, it gives us something to look forward to at the end of every day. I think playing in the district final last year against Lackawanna Trail, it really motivated everybody that this year that returned to kind of go out and, you know, we wanted to prove our worth because last year there was a lot of people saying a lot of stuff about us. So, you know, we kind of want to go out and just show, you know, that we belong and that we can play football with all the other good teams. And especially with our schedule, you know, we don't really play a team except for Holy Cross and Trail. That's the same size as us all year. Everybody else is bigger. So, I mean, to go out, you know, beat West Scranton, a 5A school, and Dunmore, a 3A school in the first 2 weeks of the season is really, it's really encouraging for us.
Yeah, absolutely. You're off to a great start. Like you said, against two quality opponents. Now you're going up against a Mid-Valley team that's been pretty solid too, had a great start to the season. What do you know about them and what do you see in them?
We know that they're going to be another battle, you know. They're physically very strong. They're big up front. They run the ball very well. You know, so it's going to be really important for our backers and our defensive line to really set the tone early in the game. I think offensively for us, it's just kind of be the same stuff that we've been doing. You know, we got to keep doing what's working and we got to keep finding new ways, obviously, to build off the positive things that we've done and maybe scrap some of the negative things that we've done. But that goes for every other team that we play. Obviously, we got to clean some things up defensively, but all of it was kind of just all of our mental mistakes on defense are fixable, and our guys are focused and want to get better with them.
All right, TJ, I'm going to change things up for you a little bit, much like you do when you're on the mound and someone's looking for the fastball. Your dad, Tony DiMattia, was a all-state, all-world player, and he was, I believe, a member of a state championship baseball team at Old Forge and got a lot of pride in that community and being an Old Forge Blue Devil. What's it like at home, you know, having to be the quarterback and a pitcher and shortstop for the Old Forge Blue Devils and following in that legacy?
It's really, you know, I don't really think about it now, and I don't think I've noticed it yet now, but I think, you know, having it be my senior year and then I think reflecting back on it in a few years, it'll kind of hit me. But right now I'm just trying to keep doing what I'm doing and work hard and get better every single day. I mean, my dad's obviously a huge part. He plays a huge role in my life. I mean, he's very supportive to everything I do. You know, if I want to, you know, whether it's in baseball, if I have an idea, I want to change something up, he's always encouraging to my ideas. And whenever, you know, he thinks I'm doing something wrong, you know, he's going to let me know because he's my dad, but he's also my coach. So, I mean, it's an interesting balance to have both those things. But I mean, out of season, once it's football season, he really just lets me go. And it's kind of just like he wants me to go out and just have fun and do what I'm doing and enjoy it.
Cool. Absolutely. And, you know, speaking of coaching, one thing I found really interesting about the Athlete of the Week interview you did with our colleague Sam Freeman is that you help coach the Junior Devils B team. I just think that's really cool. What's that experience like for you being on the coaching end a little bit?
Yeah, it's really cool. Those kids, like I said in the interview, they're going to be the next, you know, Old Forge Blue Devils in a few years. So, you know, it's just kind of, we want to instill values of ours that we have built on our team into those kids. So, I mean, it's just we're trying to build I'm trying to, me and my friends that are coaching with them, we're trying to build better kids and build better football players, because, and at their age, they're just trying to have fun, but they want to win. So, I mean, it's the same with us. They're no different from us. We're just a little bit older and a little bit more advanced with our, play calls and stuff like that. So it's really cool to be around those kids and be around the parents and just help support them in any way we can.
Well, TJ, you certainly have gotten this season off to a very exciting start. I want to thank you for being with us. You're an excellent interview, and I want to hope you guys can continue to have some success. I'm looking forward to the big game on Friday. I think I'm going to be covering that one, so make sure you come over and say hi.
Oh yeah, for sure. I'll definitely come over and I'll say what's up.
Thanks, TJ. All right, that was Old Forge's teammate TJ DiMattia, our Times-Tribune Athlete of the Week.
Great interview, Joe. He was very, very good. And you see how mature he is. That's the kind of leadership you get out of a kid like him on the football field, especially with 1 year under his belt of experience. He's calm, cool, and collected. He's led his team to 2 very exciting victories in the first 2 weeks.
Definitely. You couldn't have said it better from seeing him in week 1. I mean, just big play after big play. He's calm, and that's why he's our Athlete of the Week. You could get that that will be in Tuesday's Times-Tribune. It will also be online, the Times-Tribune.com/sports. You could get that. And obviously, if you'll be listening here, you'll see our interview. So
absolutely. You'll hear the interview.
Yeah. Sorry. I guess you won't see it. We don't have a YouTube component yet, but who knows, Joby? Maybe in the future.
One step at a time, Joe.
That's right, Joby. So obviously we touched on the Old Forge Dunmore game. That was a thriller. Just to quickly touch on some other great performances. I mean, Isaiah Rodriguez knocking down another game-winning field goal to win that game. Kale Krishnowski, who TJ mentioned, a 90-yard kickoff return and an 82-yard kickoff return. Chris Rasmus, 6 catches, 105 yards. He also threw a pass for 20 yards, so that's cool. Mm-hmm. And Dunmore scored 43 points, so I just want to shout out a couple kids here. Xavier Burke, 174 yards and 2 touchdowns on 12 carries, added a 9-yard touchdown catch. Gabe Franek, 100 yards rushing on 14 carries. Jack McNeff, 3 of 4 passing, 107 yards, 3 touchdown passes, and he had a touchdown run as well. So just an incredible game.
All right, Joe, I just want to mention a couple of quick items from that game because I wasn't at the game.
Yeah.
Just based on what I read in the report. Isaiah Rodriguez, you have to feel good for that young man. If you remember back 2 years ago, he had an opportunity to beat Lackawanna Trail in a district championship game, and I believe that Max Kimmel blocked 2 game-winning field goal attempts for Isaiah Rodriguez. Again, that's not his fault, but he had the opportunity there to be a real hero with his foot. He's an excellent kicker.
Yes.
He's also a soccer player, and he's a big kid at receiver. He's 6'4".
Yeah, he's massive.
So and he booms the ball off his foot, and so you have to feel good for a kid like him who's able to knock in a game-winning field goal in overtime. Your heart does break a little bit for, I believe, Eric Reese from Dunmore. He did not make a field goal attempt that would have given Dunmore the lead in the Bucks' overtime possession. But again, he's an outstanding kicker as well. And those are the ups and downs of a high school football game where, you kind of do so many things right. Sometimes, the ball just doesn't go the way you want it to go. But he is a tremendous kid. And I know Coach Mike Schuback extended, had a nice conversation with him once the teams were getting ready to leave there at the stadium. So that's a good job there by Mike Schuback as well. Kale Krishnowski, we mentioned him, I think, in week 1 also, Joe. Outstanding speed. He's the 110-meter hurdle champion in Class 2A as he runs for Riverside, because Old Forge doesn't have a track and field team. So no surprise there that he's breaking those big kickoff returns, taking both for touchdowns against Dunmore. And, Old Forge has really gotten, when you have a group like this that went through some ups and downs of last season, some highs and lows of a team with a lot of inexperience, you can just see that they're confident in themselves just based on the performances in these two games. And then you mentioned Xavier Berth. He is only a sophomore, Joe, but he is a big man as well. I mean, he is a huge kid with outstanding speed. He started as a freshman last year for that team that went to the Class 2A semifinals last year. He was a big part of that defense's success throughout the entire season. So, he's a big-time player for Dunmore. So I think both teams are going to carry the momentum of this game, even though there was some disappointment on the Dunmore side, and carry it into the week 3 here.
Definitely. Joby, let's touch on what didn't turn out to be the game of the week because we had an unbelievable overtime thriller, but the game that you covered, big matchup between Western Wayne and Lackawanna Trail. Let me just throw some stats out there. Josh Vinton, 195 yards rushing, 1 touchdown on 20 carries for Western Wayne. Sean Owens, he had 2 catches, 83 yards, a touchdown, 5 tackles, 1 for loss, goal line stand in the fourth quarter. He broke up a pass. He had an interception return for a touchdown. What did you take away from this game?
Okay, a couple of things with this game, Joe. Sometimes the score doesn't necessarily indicate how competitive the game really was. Western Wayne is people are kind of, it was weird coming into this year because you don't really know the status of Sean Owens coming in. I knew he was going to be 100% because he had done some rehabilitation on that injured neck he had last year that he played with after some surgery. He had to fuse a couple of his vertebrae, but he had another procedure during this off season that removed the rods and the screws from that surgery. And I'll tell you what, he is clearly one of the most dynamic players in the league. I mean, he was before this, but he's really turned it on here in his senior year. He's got outstanding speed. He caught a pass, Joe, for the second. This week it was a crossing pattern, big third down play, and he caught the ball. It was well defended by Trail. The kid just missed the ball, and Sean Owens concentrated. He caught it, and he turned on the jets, and he was gone. I mean, there's just no catching him once he gets into the open field. Josh Vinton, for the most part, was battling. Okay, Lackawanna Trail has a very good defense, a very sound defense, and the team does kind of rally to the ball. So Josh was doing some good work in terms of grinding out yards. I think he had 34 or 38 yards at the half. And you just kind of got the sense that it was only a matter of time until he broke a really long run. And it just so happened that with Western Wayne winning 14-7, Lackawanna Trail had made a big play. Max Kimmel had partially blocked a punt. Demetrius Douglas had caught the ball in the flight and returned it to the 14, and then there was a penalty. A lot of flags in this game, Joe. And anyway, Max Kimmel then throws a halfback option pass, and Trail gets the ball inside the 2, but Western Wayne comes up with a huge goal line stand. Now had Trail scored there, it would have been a 14-14 game.
Yeah.
And it does sometimes happen, Joe. You've been in a lot of football games in your day. When you have that type of a goal line stand and you were getting, the idea that Vinton was getting close, okay? And it just so happened on the second play or the first play it was after the goal line stand, must have been the second play, he goes 85 yards and he takes the ball all the way down inside the Lackawanna Trail 10, and then the next play he scores a touchdown. So it went from being a 14-14 game to being a 21-7 lead for Western Wayne, and it really kind of took all the air out of Lackawanna Trail's sails because Lackawanna Trail really isn't built for big comebacks.
Yeah.
Especially against a team like Western Wayne that forces you to move the sticks. Not going to give up a lot of big plays, especially with Sean Owens, the back end of that defense. And that's exactly, then of course, Western Wayne scored a late touchdown to put it out of reach at 28-7. Very impressed with Western Wayne up front. Easily the most physical Western Wayne team that they've had up there for quite some time. And they've had some pretty good ones over the last couple of years. This team is physical. They're big. They're strong. Can really pound the ball. And then, of course, you have that deep play threat with Sean Owens. So very complete game for Western Wayne. against a very quality Class 1A opponent. And I think Lackawanna tries to come away with some positives as well. Hung in there against a good and a second straight Class 3A opponent. And, they'll work to get better. They have to. They put this schedule together at Lackawanna Trail to build and get themselves ready for the postseason. So far, 1-1 after a win over Tunkhannock and a loss to Western Wayne. This week, Lackawanna Trail gets its first home game, and it's against Berwick, another 3A opponent.
Yeah, that'll definitely be an interesting one. I thought one of the more impressive games, obviously we didn't make the commute to Maryland, but Scranton Prep beating a Loyola Blakefield team of one of the top big school teams in Maryland. Will McPartland, 177 yards on 14 carries and 2 touchdowns. This is just another impressive win for Prep to add to the resume.
It is, Joe. And again, you've been hearing it a lot. I know you have, and you actually heard it during your high school career at Holy Cross, where, a lot of the public schools really want these private schools to play off on their own. So Scranton Prep, to its credit, now for a while, this program has been building, really over the last decade to get to this point in this level. And this year, Grace Simpson, the athletic director, and Mark Seitzinger, his assistant, really, did a good job of scheduling these 2 games in back-to-back weeks, one with Loyola Blakefield this past week, and then this week coming up, going to be playing Canisius out of Buffalo, New York. These are the types of games that Scranton Prep has to play. There's no reason that Scranton Prep should be playing small public school teams in non-league matchups, because Scranton Prep wants to climb that ladder. This program wants to go and take the next step in its development, and that means, yes, Joe, not just challenging, but winning a state championship in football. That's what they're built for, okay? They have some of the best players in the league, in the district, and in the state, okay? So that's when you go and play Loyola Blakefield, which is a very good team out of Maryland, out of town, I believe they're in Towson, a couple of college prospects on that roster as well, and you come away with a hard-fought 26-23 victory, that's excellent for the Scranton Prep football program. And it says a lot for how far along the program is this year. Obviously, Lewis Baress is a seasoned quarterback, 3rd-year starter. Will McPartland, we've been hearing about this kid since he played junior football. He was the best player in that junior football conference. The offensive and defensive linemen on this team are tremendous, very well coached. And we know what kind of defense that they're going to play with Terry Gallagher being the head coach there. So, yeah, I think it sent a big, strong message to the teams in District 2 and in the PIAA. Scranton Prep is a serious, and we knew that going into the season.
Right.
Intending for a state championship, probably going to be ranked 2, if not 1, in the state rankings by Penn Live when they come out later today.
Yeah, and with, like you said, this is just, it's a big win. I wouldn't have been surprised, like, even if they had lost this game, it would have been like, okay, but they played well, they played a big team, and it wouldn't have been, but they go out there and win this game against, there's recruits to, I think one of them was Notre Dame. I mean, there's some serious players on this team. So this is a really impressive win by Prep.
Yes, it is, Joe. You're absolutely right. And look, there's going to be another, this team coming in from Canisius has some prospects as well, from what I've seen in my research getting ready for the week. That game is Saturday, 2:00 at Dunmore Veterans Memorial Stadium. It's going to be a good one if you get a chance to get out there and you want to see Scranton Prep, because most teams are going to play Friday night this week. Get out there and take a look. This is a pretty good football team.
The game that I was at, I'll touch on. The Scranton beat Wyoming Valley West 36-13. And to be honest with you, it really wasn't that close. Scranton went up 36-0 before the half. I was really impressed with Scranton. This is the first time I saw Brody Coyle. He looks good back there, obviously filling the shoes of Billy Maloney from last year. And he looks good. He could escape the pocket. He's got he throws a nice ball, and he looked really good, and so did Reese Whitman. It was fun to watch them link up on a couple pass plays. It was kind of similar to how Patrick Mahomes and Travis Kelce kind of like, make up routes like on the fly. I'm not saying that's exactly what they were doing, but Brody Coyle's just kind of running back and forth in the backfield being chased, and all of a sudden, like, he turns and there's Reese Whitman, and he hits him, and Reese, scores a touchdown on one of the plays. Really impressive. He breaks 3 tackles, gets in the end zone. Another one, he turns a potential 15 to 20 yard loss into an 8-yard gain. So that was a fun one to watch. Also, shout out to Memphis Shadow. Only 5 carries, 94 yards and a touchdown. And he did some work on special teams too with his punt returns, getting the ball into Wyoming Valley West territory on a few punt returns and setting up touchdown drives. Also, Scranton was able to rest its starters for the second half. Probably could use a little extra rest, being that they play on Thursday night this week, Joby. So I was pretty impressed with Scranton.
Well, that's good coming from you, Joe, in terms of being able to see Scranton live. I will be there on Thursday. I'm looking forward to it. You mentioned Brody Coyle. He's another one of those guys who had a pretty good junior football career. And, I don't like to put too much weight into junior football because, they're so young and there's not a lot of big linemen at that level. But Brody had a tough injury last year, and it happened right before the season started, and it put him on the shelf for the entire year. They had some expectations last year that he was going to see some time at quarterback and put Billy Maloney at running back, and that got derailed. And look, it was a scary injury too. It was a situation where he had a fracture in his hip or something of that nature, and it was something that really, really hampered him. And boy, he's come back with a vengeance. I like to see that. He's had a good start to the year, and boy, I'm hearing good things about that Reese Whitman. I'm looking forward to seeing him play. The way you're talking about it, Joe, I know these young high school players are going to love the fact you're comparing them to Patrick Mahomes and Travis Kelce. Wow.
Right.
They're on their way, those Scranton guys. But we're gonna see them on Thursday. It's always fun to be on the Scranton sideline with Coach Steve Schombraze and his staff. They love chatting with me on the sideline when things don't go so well. So I'm looking forward to that. I hope things go well for them on Thursday. It should be a good game. This is the first of a couple of games, Joe, that are going to be played on Thursday in Lackawanna Football Conference because of that shortage of officials situations that Scranton Athletic Director and officials assigner Ted Anderson has to deal with every week. Which, look, if we can get him more work to do, I'm always encouraging that. And anything that give him a migraine is okay in my book. But I would like to see us have more officials. But this is going to be cool. Now, Scranton has played a Thursday game before in its history. I was at it. Jake McCarthy had a huge game against Scranton Prep. I think it was a 14-13 win, something like that, or 28-21. It was a close game, nevertheless. But it was a Thursday night game. I know Jake had a big game. So it's going to be, as we move forward here, Joe, I know down in District 11, they play Thursday night games on a regular basis.
Yeah.
It's something that's taking place across the state and really across the country. They're getting these games in. And a lot of these teams realize, hey, look, this is an opportunity for us to play in front of the whole league. We're the marquee game.
Exactly.
But that's why it was great for Scranton to have the opportunity to rest its players, as you mentioned, in the second half of that game. So it'll be neat.
Yeah, no, for sure, Joby. And
6 o'clock start, by the way, Joe. I want to make that.
Oh yeah, 6 o'clock start. Good call getting that out there. Another thing I wanted to touch on, our athlete of the week from last week had another big week this week.
Boy, Joe, you look like a genius.
Apparently, right? My goodness. So 260 yards rushing, 3 touchdowns on 28 carries. I mean, this is, and it's weird to see Mid-Valley 28, Berwick 7. It's just, but Jacob talked to us about that last week. They're building something there at Mid-Valley, and they're really a team to be reckoned with.
Joe, they are. The Spartans, here they are Sparta. There's no question about that.
Exactly.
Oh, look, Joe, when I went to see Mid-Valley practice in the summer for the tour around the camps,
Yeah.
this is a pretty good team. I mean, they've got big offensive and defensive linemen. They've got outstanding linebackers. And Jacob Lesher, look, when you have that kind of speed, and he's a talented football player. I mean, he could play any position except on the offensive line. He could play quarterback, he could play receiver, he could play tight end, and then defensively, he's a ball hawk in the secondary. Between him and Sean Owens, there are some real big-time players in that Lackawanna Football Conference Division II. And, look, Mid-Valley, when the schedule came out in February or January, whenever they allow us to see these top secret files of schedule release, you circled that game and said, wow, this is pretty neat. Mid-Valley's going to play Berwick, and this week, Lackawanna Trail's going to play Berwick. And, say what you want, a win against a program with the reputation and the history that Berwick has is very significant for your high school football program. And when you go to Mid-Valley Stadium now and you see the facilities and you see the energy in the stadium, and now it's kind of resonating with the players, with their talent and their determination, and you start putting a winning product on the field like Mid-Valley is doing under Coach Stan Yanowski, boy, this team's a real threat. And look, John, I'm going to cut it off at this point, but there are, with Scranton Prep, with Wyoming area, which had a big win this past week as well, Western Wayne and Mid-Valley in that Class 3A bracket. Wow, those are some good football teams.
Yeah, you're not kidding. You're not kidding. And it should make for, an interesting game of the week. This week is Mid-Valley at Old Forge. I mean, that should be something to watch, a great matchup.
It's going to be a good game, Joe, I think, on paper at least. But the last thing that I wanted to tell you was we don't play the games on paper.
That's right.
You got to play them on the field. So we're going to see that one. Again, Joe, I got to clear this through the higher ups in the sports department. I think I'm going to cover that game. So we'll try to get that squeezed into the schedule here this weekend. Look, it's going to be energetic at Old Forge. One thing about going to Old Forge, the stands are right there on top of the field. You are definitely, the fans are into the game, and it's a very interactive experience between game officials and the fans at Old Forge. And so that's always something I like to kind of chronicle on the sidelines. It's pretty neat, the dialogue between the fans and the referees at that game. And look, it's going to be a highly anticipated matchup. Both teams 2-0. Should be a good one.
Yeah, Joby, you keep telling me, there's a reason they play the game, there's a reason I'll listen one day.
Joe, there's a reason they take score.
That's right. That's right.
I can't emphasize that enough to fans. They take score for a reason.
Maybe I'll learn that by the end of the season. Week 6, week 7.
Being a former athlete, Joe, you should know that.
That's true. That's true. You're right.
We're not just out there for window dressing. They take score for a reason.
Yeah. You're right. You're right, my friend. So, all right. So let's talk a little bit about Game Face, Joby. It's our Friday tab, previews all the games coming up. What are we looking forward to?
It does, Joe, and it's a labor of love for me. As I mentioned before, I've been at this now all weekend. I start doing the research on, believe it or not, I'll start it on Friday, just doing some of the research that you have to do in terms of when these teams have played before, what the series record is. And then once the games are played, you kind of put in the statistics that you think are important and the results from the week before. And so this week we're going to have those capsules for every game as we do every week. We'll have the game of the week preview between Old Forge and Mid-Valley. And I'm working on, Joe, a very interesting feature. I don't want to give too much of it away because I want people to be able to pick up the newspaper on Friday and be, just thrilled at what it's going to be. But I am doing a story on somebody who I think is a very, very important part of one of the most successful high school football programs in our area. And you're probably Don't know his name right now, but you're going to know it on after Friday. And I'm telling you, he is vital to the success of the program.
I was going to say, Joby, you and I know,
Yes.
and when I saw what you were writing about, because I've been on, on the sideline and been like, this would make a good story. So I'm actually very happy to see you tackle this one. I'll be very excited to read that.
I don't know how well written it'll be, Joe, because those things are always a crapshoot, but the subject matter is certainly going to be.
That's right. Yep. That's on you, Joby. That's on you.
Well, listen, we'll do our best.
So that our Game Face edition, Game Face wrap will be in Friday's paper as it is every week. So be sure to pick up a copy. And that's it. I think no, go ahead.
What else do we have from the high school sports world that went on over the course of the last week? Holy smokes. I think we had some pretty neat stories that went on last week in tennis, volleyball. I just wanted to touch base with girls volleyball. Okay.
Yep.
Again, I know you're going to find this hard to believe, Joey, but I am working on a story about girls volleyball in the Lackawanna League. I don't want to give too much of it away again because I want people to read it in the paper. But yeah, I got out to my first girls volleyball match of the year. I try to get to a handful of them throughout the course of the year, just kind of get myself prepared for the postseason. And there are some very good girls volleyball teams in the area. You've got North Pocono, which is coming off a district championship season with its entire starting team back from last year. North Pocono got off to a quick start with a win last week. And, Abington Heights has got a very good team that reached the district semifinals last year. And the team that really could surprise some people, and it's going to be kind of like a twofold thing. One, we know about Mountain View girls basketball reaching the state final last year and the semifinals 2 years ago. Addison Kilmer, the big 6'2" center for Mountain View. Well, she's also a middle hitter for the volleyball team. And Joe, Mountain View, that's right, Mountain View in Class 1A, defeated Holy Redeemer, the Class 2A powerhouse, over the course of the last 15 years or so. How long has these two schools been in existence, Joe? 2009? Was it 15? 15?
Yeah, 2008. The same as Holy Cross was formed.
That's why I'm asking 2008.
If there's anything I'm an expert on, it is that. Yes, 2007, 2008.
Yeah, I know. I heard all about them. Anyway, yeah. So they had a big win Friday, and again, some of these accomplishments for girls volleyball or tennis or, we had some soccer matches last week. We had some field hockey matches, a real good one between, Lackawanna Trail and Wyoming Seminary. One ended up in a tie. Then the weather came and finished the game. But sometimes these events and these accomplishments, I don't want to say they get lost in the weeds, but they certainly kind of get engulfed by the weekend rush of high school football results, but I thought Mountain View's win over Holy Redeemer was huge, and Mountain View is going to be the clear favorite in Class 1A to win the District 2 girls volleyball championship, and that's basically because Mountain View's got a very good team, but also because Blue Ridge, which has won the last 10 championships in Class 1A, is up into Class 2A this year because of an increase in enrollment. So some good exciting times here coming up in girls volleyball and girls tennis. We've got the postseason coming up, believe it or not, in I think 2 weeks. So that should be interesting as well, Joe. So a lot of good things going on in high school sports. I love this. It's a very busy time of the year for us, but because we have so much going on at the same time, but you get to kind of see how outstanding some of the athletes and teams are in these other sports.
Absolutely. And, it's funny because sometimes you look at, some of our roundups and, it's list they won in straight sets and it's just, it doesn't pop off the page that much, but we have some really, really great tennis players in the area. Obviously, we touched on prep last week, and there's obviously a bunch of others. So no, you're right. It can't be overlooked.
Yeah, Scranton Prep's only a defending state champion with his entire line back. Yeah,
that's right. Exactly. So we're obviously in full swing here, and there's we're covering all the sports, Joby. We're doing the best we can.
Joe,
Yep.
That's all we can do.
That's all we could do, right? That's all we could do. Morning to night. So
there are only so many hours in the day.
Right? Right, Joby? There are only so many. Only could do so much. So,
right.
But.
So, Joe, let me ask you this, because we've been having a lot of fun here, and we're trying to get ourselves a little more comfortable in the format of the show and everything like that. And we're getting this thing rolling. But so when you're in sports, like we are in terms of working and having to cover events, and you're kind of locked in there on a Saturday. But, for our fans and listeners, we mentioned this earlier, you are a huge Michigan fan.
That's right. That's right.
And Joe, not that I am a huge Michigan fan. I'm just a very big fan of college football.
Yes. Yes.
And I now, knowing that you are a Michigan fan, make it a point when I have the opportunity to watch Michigan play football, I'm going to do so just because it offers me the ability, or the opportunity, I should say, to kind of bust you a little bit when things aren't going so well. Now, Michigan came away with a big victory. Okay.
1-0, Joby. 1-0.
That's all you can do after 1 week is be 1-0. And look, I don't think they're going to be winning the national championship this year, Joe.
Well, 1-0. That's all.
You got a big win on opening night, which is very important. Now, it's not going to go down as a pretty win.
No.
But as I say, they take scores for a reason.
That's right. That's right. Joby, it's first of all, hail to the victors, valiant hail. All right. I'll stop there.
Nobody is going to want you to sing it.
And that is where everyone is going to turn off our podcast.
Yes.
So I just ruined the rest of it.
As I often say to you, Joe, we're going to discourage you from singing any further.
It's the reason I became a journalist. But no, it's funny because we have this Google Meet chat every night. And so, I'm just talking to the guys watching the Michigan game, and I'm just like, yeah, I don't think Michigan's very good.
Well, so let me correct you, because you're a fan. Michigan is good. Okay. Those teams in the NCAA Division I football are all good. Like those top teams, those are good football players.
That is true. Listen, you're right.
And we've gotten to the point where we're very overly critical as a society. Those are talented kids out there playing football. I want to say they're semi-professional football players now, because they're all making more money than I am. But you love college football, Joe. You love Michigan.
Love Michigan. Joby, it's a very interesting season because now they have won a national championship in my lifetime, but I was 7. So I wasn't really a fan. So experiencing them winning a national championship last year, this kind of feels like a honeymoon season. There's no, I have no expectations. They lost a lot of great players. We presently don't, what's the saying? When you have 2 quarterbacks, you don't have one.
That's correct.
So that's presently the situation that we're in. But the defense looks really good. I mean, that's not surprising. They always have a good defense. But we'll also see how their defense fares against a Texas team that is extremely hungry next week. So
you didn't take a personal day for that game, did you?
Yeah, I believe I did take a personal day, but not for that game.
Oh, okay. That's what you're selling now?
That's what I'm trying to sell.
Another obligation, huh? Okay.
That's right. That's right. Joby, another concert. I just keep going to concerts. That's all I do.
Well, Ticketmaster's very happy with you.
They are. They are. Joby, what'd you watch this weekend?
Well, I didn't get a chance to watch Penn State because I saw the Holy Cross Lakeland game at St. Anthony's Playground.
Right.
Just to kind of touch base really quickly on this, the Lakeland came away with a 21-3 game. I'm telling you, Joe, your alma mater, the Holy Cross football team, I told you in the preseason that this is not the Holy Cross program you remember from 10, 15 years when it first started, okay? They had some good teams back then when Ben Tallarico was the coach too, but this team's got some players, and they're gonna win some games this year. Trust me on that. That being said, I did watch Michigan and that game. I'm always flipping back and forth. I also, Joe, saw Alabama because I wanted to see former Lakeland tight end C.J. Dupree.
Absolutely.
And he had another good game. Again, he's used mostly as a blocker. They're going to throw the ball more to him, I think, this year than they did last year. But he had a very good start to his season as well. Joe, I tried to stay up all the way through that 10:30 game between Arizona was playing at night, and it ended up being probably the best game of the weekend. And of course, I fell asleep.
That's how it goes, Joby. Well, I mean,
yesterday I caught that LSU USC game, and let me tell you, Joe, all the Penn State fans better be very, very alerted to how talented USC is now. If history's any indication, Lincoln Riley will certainly blow a game here at home.
True.
But USC looked pretty impressive in beating LSU last night.
Yeah, they've got, I mean, I don't know if they've fixed the two problems they had, offensive line and defense, but they sure looked a lot better. I mean, they have these massive offensive linemen, and they've got a Danton Lynn as their defensive coordinator from UCLA, who was great for UCLA. And I mean, it's funny, giving up 20 points to a team is like miles better than they did last year. So you're right. Not only Penn State, but Michigan may have some things to worry about.
Or most years and teams under Lincoln Riley, defensively not right. So that's an improvement. But Joe, listen, I have to mention Penn State because I have so many friends who are so devoted to Penn State. And look, James Franklin put it out there. He's already said this. You have to make the playoff with this team. You have to. And Penn State's got a good team. To make no mistake about it, I went through Penn State's schedule with my neighbor, and I don't think Penn State anything less than 11-1, I think would be a disappointment. And I think Penn State could be 12-0. I really do.
Really interesting, Joby.
I really do. I really believe Penn State could be 12-0. And now every Penn State fan will be yelling and screaming at me for putting the jinx on them.
Exactly. Well, Joby, honestly, I mean, coming out of a 2.5-hour weather delay and just, not missing a beat, they looked impressive against West Virginia. Now, will that be the case against, what's been their Achilles heel over the years in Ohio State and Michigan and obviously
they're not playing Michigan this year, Joe.
That's true. Well, yes, you're right. I guess I should know that. So, but, in a tougher Big Ten, we'll see. But I will say, I have to admit, even as a Michigan fan, they looked pretty good on Saturday.
They did. Quick shout out for me, and I hate using that term, but former Scranton Prep running back London Montgomery, of course, he hit the transfer portal. He's down at East Carolina. He had a very good opening week, Joe.
Yeah, we saw that.
I'm happy to see that. Boy, that kid's been through a lot with the torn ACL. His senior year at Scranton Prep, it cost him that, what would have been probably a record-setting season for him.
Yeah.
Anytime you get a kid with that, he was living a dream. He committed to his dream school in Penn State. Things just didn't work out for him there in terms of what he was going to get playing time-wise. Very difficult rehabilitation back from that torn ACL. You got to feel good for London Montgomery having a good game in week 1 for East Carolina.
Absolutely. I'd like to do a quick shout out as well. My friend Jeremy Evans, it's his birthday today. I don't know, Joby, you may remember from back in the day. He was a cross country and a track athlete. He's running a few marathons since high school. So he's a good friend of mine, and it just happens to be his birthday. So happy birthday to my friend.
Happy birthday to Jeremy. Now, Joe, that's something that you might want to celebrate, at some point this week. So make sure you're, minding your P's and Q's when you're out there on the town.
You know it, Joby. You know me. And
that being said, Joe, we have to get a moratorium on the phrase shout out. No, we're not doing that anymore.
We're done with it? Okay. All right. It ends in episode 3. That works. That works for me. Joby, the NFL's starting this weekend.
Yeah. I guess I'm excited. Somebody picked the Rams to win the NFC West. So much like the Penn State fans are going to be attacking me for putting the jinx on, I want to thank whoever did that. And thank him for ruining my entire season for the Rams.
Joby, you're always down on the Rams. Always.
Yeah, except for when they won the Super Bowl against Cincinnati, Joe. When I jumped up. Well, I shouldn't say I jumped up so high because really, how high do I jump? But being my age, I nearly critically injured myself on the way down. And listen, the Rams now, they've played in 5 Super Bowls in my lifetime, and they've won 2, both in pretty, dramatic fashion.
Yeah.
But as I often say, I've been spoiled because I could be a Jets fan like our good friend Scott Walsh was. It was seen his team win a Super Bowl champion. So, hey, I'm excited about the NFL season. I believe they're playing every night of the week now, so that'll be fun. And they play 17 games.
That's right.
That's good too. And now that I'm no longer playing fantasy football, I think I'm going to enjoy the games much more.
Joby, let me tell you something. 2 things. I think it's funny that people are saying the Rams aren't going to miss a beat, without one of the greatest defensive linemen ever. I think people are really underrating that.
Yeah. You think, Joe?
Yeah. So that's where I'll agree with you, at least. I'll agree with you that people aren't really talking about that enough or thinking about it.
Listen, it's very easy to replace Hall of Fame players.
A guy who got triple teamed on a regular basis.
Right. Yeah, those guys are easy to find.
Yes, and let me tell you something. The fantasy draft for the Times-Tribune is still in progress. It's still happening. It started Saturday. It's still going.
Outstanding.
So
hope you field a better team than you did last year.
Oh, I know. So we'll see what happens. Maybe you got out at the right time, though. I don't know.
I had to, Joe. We were in financial distress over there at my fantasy football headquarters. So.
I hear you. Hey, listen.
I'm looking forward to. When do the Rams play? Do they play Sunday?
I think so. Yeah. They play Sunday.
Play Detroit, I believe, right?
Yeah. Yep. Exactly.
Wow.
The rematch, the big rematch.
Jared Goff played for the Detroit
against your boy Jared Goff. Yeah.
Jared Goff took the Rams to a Super Bowl.
That's right.
So would have been Ferragamo.
Yeah.
What?
Joe, well, you're not wrong.
I know.
You're not wrong. Joby, my Packers play the Eagles in Brazil.
Yeah, don't they have to wear yellow or something?
Oh my God. Just Joby, the dumbest thing.
They can't wear green, Joe.
Yeah. That was
think about the NFL people, right?
Yep.
They got an opportunity to play 2 NFL teams in Brazil, right?
Yep.
And you can't wear green in the stadium. Okay? And the NFL schedules that game between the Philadelphia Eagles and the Green Bay Packers.
It's a choice, Joby. It's a choice.
Wow.
Listen, that was a great start for our running back who has big shoes to fill, Josh Jacobs, who came out and apparently that's not true at all. He just said it. So that's a great start for our buddy Josh Jacobs. We hope for better things from him because he's replacing a hometown favorite, Aaron Jones. So I don't know.
Well, Joe, I wish you the best of luck, and I hope everyone gets home safely.
Thank you. True. That is true. I totally agree. So, Joby, anything else? We have reached the 1 hour mark. So, if people haven't tuned out by then, I came very close to singing the Holy Cross fight song. So, but I'm going to save that maybe for next week.
All right, Joe, just be careful. Have a great week. I'm going to try to get back to work here and finish up Game Face and some other projects I have on the stove. But I appreciate you having me on again. And thanks to TJ DiMattia again, our Times-Tribune Athlete of the Week. And if people keep listening, we'll be back next week maybe.
That's right, Joby. Hey, thanks for taking